Okay, just to start the video off, let's just talk about quickly where I land. I land at this place right here. It's an edge map POI, and it has a lot of slurp builds. It's really good for solos, in my opinion, and I know it's somewhat highly contested because of all the resources that it gives. But the biggest thing that I want to emphasize is the importance of a drop map, right? You want to practice your drop a lot, go into arena, jump off the bus, and perfect your glide, right? If anyone's there, fight them. And otherwise, just leave and repeat. The arena points don't matter in preseason, so use them, use that practice. And this ping right here is just me referring to my own drop map that I've made. And I'm just going to glide and then simply just go over this ping and drop straight down. And this is going to give me the perfect glide for this POI because I've prepared, right? I've actually done all this research and practice, and I know exactly where to pull my glider. And I have a bunch of other spots around, the perimeter that can work for glides. So just make sure you have that down for any drop that you have. This, it doesn't have to be this drop specifically. There's a bunch of drops on the map that work really well. Just make sure you have it down for your specific drop. So I'm just going to be gliding. I look around, very important, right? You want to make sure you understand how many people are coming into your area, but not only your area, but the area around you, right? So I looked out, right? And I know that no one's going to be coming around, these little houses around me as well. So while I'm looting, I'm going to feel a lot more safer because I checked out this information and I know this ahead of time. So the biggest thing that I want to talk about, off spawn at least in solos, is to have a planned out source of metal, right? And this matters in other game modes too, but I think in solos is extremely important because you don't have a freedom to control a certain area like you do in trios or whatever. So people can just some guy could just come up and push me right now, right? But if I have a planned out source of metal, and in my case it's literally in my POI, all these barrels give a little bit of metal, and then the satellite in the middle gives me up to 500. I think it's really important that you plan this out. Having a planned out source of metal is key for building up extra time for you to accomplish the most important thing that I want to talk about in solos in this specific meta, right? Which is mobility. You need to have some sort of mobility. And I think this is a very simple one statement summary of what this meta is in solos. If you can find some sort of mobility, then you'll be set, right? And there's multiple ways to do this that can mitigate the sort of RNG, right? I found one launch pad. But if I'm really efficient with my time and I loot and mat up really quickly, I'm gonna have this extra sort of time that no other player has because I'm faster than them, that I can spend, fishing for spicy fish. I can look to go to gas station north of Slurpee that has a pepper box. I can look for more loot that has, more chance for a launch pad. Obviously, items are not the only form of mobility, right? A car could be good mobility for you to save mats in the first 4 zones. And this is very important for you to do. Just keep that in mind, right? This is my idea of what this season's about. What is this season about in solos? It's all about mobility. Just try to find some form of mobility that can conserve you mats later on. And I mean, obviously conserving mats is really good, but the whole reason you want to conserve mats is you want to be ahead of everyone else in the game. You want to make sure that you have more mats than everyone else in the game, because the game becomes very easy at that point. And I'll show you how later on. So you can see right here, this is the metal that I was talking about in my drop. It's very simple. This is a lot of metal, and the metal doesn't even necessarily have to be in your drop. Sometimes your POI doesn't have metal and you need to find metal on your route, right? Wherever you're going to rotate, you can find, different sources of metal. Just have it planned out. Whatever it is, just have it planned out before you even enter the game, because there's wood and brick everywhere. It's all over the map. But in this chapter, there's just no metal anywhere. So it's really important that you have it planned out, and you're gonna farm it on the way. Gonna go back here real quick. Look how quick this is. A really grouped up area that I had a lot of mats in my drop. Just notice how much I'm constantly hitting. I'm just constantly swinging my pickaxe, and the reason is because you just want to get to max shield, max mats as fast as possible, right? This is very important. It's almost like a little speed run. You want to make sure that you have max mats as fast as possible, right? And the reason for this is because this gives you more time to look for that mobility that I mentioned earlier, right? And having a little, this is something you should even practice. You should practice doing this as fast as possible. So many times I see people running around their drop, they're uncon, and they're wasting so much valuable time just by running over paths that they've already looted, unsure of where to go next. They don't have it planned out. They're not, decisive of what they need to do. So something that I want to mention is First zone pulled really close, and that's helpful for me because I can start building an early game plan. So my early game plan is like, hey, let's get kitted, let's get matted out really quickly, because then I want to start fishing for spicy fish, right? Yes, I have a launch pad, but if I can find spicy fish, the game just becomes even more easier, right? I just want to, like, my goal, my whole objective of early game is not to like start W king everyone, right? But this is like somewhat of a stacker. I'm at 250 points and like an hour left or something. Somewhat of a stacker, not like the most stacked game, but I just want to make the end game as easy as possible for myself, right? If zone was really far, that cuts down on the time that I have on finding mobility. So, you know, just like sometimes that's what Fortnite is. Like, you have to take the situation that's given to you and make the best of it. After looting this house, I start going to the left because I know there's a bunch of fishing spots all the way in this area, right? And I want to access this so I can fish and I can look for spicy fish. Then I notice there's a guy here, right, who's coming in from this area right here. He's coming in from this section. And one thing that I want to mention is the fact that you should really understand your area. You should really understand the area around your drop. So let's talk about it. This guy that I just saw that walked into my drop came like this. He looted this area, then he came like this. So simple question, who's stronger? Am I stronger with all this loot, all the barrels that I got? Barrels, by the way, it's free shields, so all the shield that you find in chests you can just save. This guy has barrels as well, so that sort of cancels out, but he has less loot. There's no way that this guy is stronger than me, right? So I can leverage that and look for the fact that I can, you know, start a fight with him. Let's see how strong he is. Let's see, like, can I crack him in 2 shots? And can I start a fight here? Can I maybe get a kill? Just because of the fact that I know that anyone that comes from this area is safe to fight. I just have more loot than them. What I don't want to do is start looking into Slurpee. You know, if it's a game that's like not W keyable, like if it's not early in the tournament, I don't want to go into Slurpee and start fighting people, because they're just simply stronger. They're going to be stronger than I am, right? It's just not a good macro decision. I can go out here, and if anyone's doing a split drop in this area, let's go fight them, obviously, right? Like, I just have the prior knowledge that they're not going to have as much loot as I do, and I should look to fight these areas and not fight this guy. Does that make sense, right? So you just need to understand your drop, and more importantly, understand the areas around your drop, because the people that you're going to interact with after looting is those people, right? And you need to understand, okay, who do I have an advantage over and who do I not have an advantage over? So I start shooting at him. I get 2 free tags, and something that's not well known, to be honest, like people don't take advantage of it enough, is the fact that 99% of Fortnite players, they do not build properly when they get shot out. They do not build properly. You can get such free damage if you just spam your AR to open the fight up. Like, I just crack him here. Like, I hit him 3-4 times for free, and the fight hasn't even started properly. I haven't taken a single shotgun shot, and he launch pads away. And I nearly get this kill, but the macro decision, the idea, the theory behind it is right. Like, I'm looking for a fight against a guy who I have a loot advantage over. Don't W key someone because you feel like W keying, unless it's first game, right? Outside of first game, like, think about what you're doing, right? Like, actually, okay, is this a good decision? The biggest reason why solos is a struggle for most people is because they don't have an IGL telling them what's smart and what's not smart. Most mechanical players in solos have trouble because they don't have someone doing all the macro for them. Since I looted so efficiently and looted all the areas around my map, around my POI, I have 2 launch pads. This is really good. This is really, really good. So check on the mobility, right? On the whole plan that I was talking about earlier, about this meta, about having mobility, this is good. I have 2 launch pads. I'm satisfied with this. I'm happy with this. Okay, so then next step, I need to think about zone planning. And you start thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to use these launch pads? What's my plan here? First of all, first thing to notice is that I'm dead side, right? Technically on the map, if we look at, let's speed ahead a little bit. So let's talk about my plan here, right? There's a reason why I'm sitting at second zone, right? So there's a little thing that's pretty well known in the community about third zone. Right, most top tier players know this already, but in the case that some of you guys don't know, center third zone is really good because of how the proportions of zone sizes work, right? So in center third zone, you're almost guaranteed to pull fourth zone if you're situated directly in the middle of third zone, right? This is not the case with first and second. It's only like more likely in first and second, but in third zone specifically, it's like a 95% chance that you'll pull fourth zone if you go directly in the center of third zone. Right? So just remember this fact, because this is how I built my plan for this game. I have 2 pads, right? Because I looted really efficiently, and I want to plan to pull fourth zone because I can go to third zone, right? Third center, third zone, and pull fourth zone. I want to pad into half zone and then pad first moving, right? If I do all of that, then I'm chilling because I'll be 5-5-5 in the middle of first moving, and that's really good. I'll be ahead of everyone else in the game. So why do I stay at second? Because if I go set, let's say this is second zone, right? Let's just draw like a zone, and this is where I am. This is like zoomed out on the minimap, for example. Okay, let's say I go in too early. Like, let's say I go into the center, and then I'm like sitting right here, right? Now, if third zone pulls here, it's gonna be kind of hard for me to get center because there's gonna be other people, right? Let's use a different color, maybe. Let's use red for enemies. There's gonna be people sitting around me because I went center too early, and it's gonna be really hard for me to get center in third because it's hard to rotate past all these people that have built next to my base. But if I'm dead side, and this happens this game, right? If I'm dead side right here, if I'm dead side over here, right? This is dead side down here because this is the center of the map. And this is where most people are coming in. What I can do if I stay edge is the fact that I can go, I'm more free. I'm not committed to a location, and I'm not, you know, held back by the fact that there's enemies near me, right? Let's draw those enemies again. Let's just make sure I have that in. It's kind of hard to see on this background, but let's say there's enemies like near center because center is more congested. It's way easier for me to rotate into center third if I stay edge because I'm not committed. I stay edge second, right? And I want to get a center third because, like I said before, center third is really beneficial because it's almost guaranteed to pull fourth zone. So it's almost like a snowball effect, right? Like I've prepped myself for center third third zone shows. I go into third zone, and then I have this car right here. Like, I'm gonna use this. This is why I have this, right? So as soon as third zone shows, I'm gonna rush in there, and then I'm gonna book it to center third, right? And then I'm gonna sit there in a full built metal box, build 2 if I need to. And if I do that, the game is over. If I make this happen, this one rotate, the game's over, because then I pull fourth. I pad into half of zone. I pad first moving. I'm 5-5-5 mats in the middle of endgame. And then if that all works out, like I'll be chilling, right? And that's not even a hard thing to do. After I get center third secured, it's really easy to win the game. It's really easy to do well, right? And this is how simple it is, guys. This is solos. Like, it's not hard. It really isn't. You just have to think about what your plan is ahead of time, and sort like your second zone positioning matters a lot for, you know, how are you gonna play the game. It matters a lot because if I decided, okay, I didn't plan ahead, I don't care about third zone, like I'm not thinking about it, and I just decided that I want to go, you know, center, then third zone's extremely hard. Like, I can't get past these guys that are next to me. It's gonna be very difficult, right? So just think about the game that way, and think about your mobility as a way of skipping zones, right? So just think about this. This is the zone planning, the middle game, right? This is before moving zones that you should plan well. And then end game, like if you do all this right, end game is very easy because all you're doing is spending mats. You're just spending mats. Because think about it. If I have 5-5-5 in mats, right, in the middle of first moving, and then most other people, the average player in this sort of game, because they haven't planned out mobility, they haven't looted efficiently, they haven't got all their metal early, you know, they're gonna have 3-3-3 mats, let's say average. If we spend mats at the same rate, right, I'm gonna be like 2-2-2 mats when these guys are 0-0-0, when all the enemies are 0-0-0. How easy is it to kill these guys that don't have mats? It's extremely easy. And I have so many extra mats, right? All you have to do is be in a metal box, a brick box, and look back and you know, back a zone because you have the mats to tarp ahead, and you're gonna see all these people that have 0-0-0 mats, and you're gonna get all these kills. This you know, extra bit of mats is from a result of you planning from all the way back, you know, all in early game, your mid game, all this planning leads up to this sort of situation, and end game can be very easy as a result. And the reason that people that play zone rule scrims all day don't realize this is because it's way harder to get into a position like this in a real game as it is, you know, in a zone rule scrim, right? Because zone rule scrims don't have that sort of dynamic where people are spending mats first zone, second zone, third zone to get into zone, but real games do, right? I have center third. I don't get exactly center. I don't force it completely, right? Because center third is on my ping, but I don't have a chance to force it completely because there's this guy in front of me who beat me to it. So I get almost center third. So I'm happy with that, right? Because that's like still a pretty likely chance, like 80% that I'm gonna pull fourth. Pretty happy with it. Right now, I'm just not taking any risks because I have a plan. I'm gonna use these 2 launch pads. I'm gonna use my mats, and it's really simple. All right, so I'm gonna speed ahead. Let's look at fourth zone here. Pay attention. I pull fourth. See how my ping of center third is in fourth? And look how far fourth pulled, right? It pulled extremely far. So the furthest it can possibly go, and I'm still in. Even if I was directly center third, which I like wasn't perfectly center third, but I was close enough, so I still pulled it. But if I was directly center third and I beat this guy, I would have pulled it. Or at least, at the very least, I would be very close. I would have to build in like 1 more box. And so let's pay attention to the next zone. I could pull half here, and if that happens, it's like, okay, that's just game over. Because then I can pad first moving and second moving. But what happens is I don't pull half, right? Which is fine, because in most games you won't. Which is why, like, it's so important to have mobility because of this reason. And yes, like, there is an option to steal other people's pads. And that can be reliable if you're good at doing that, because that in itself is a skill of, like, you know, how aware you are of listening to pads around you. Are you elevated on a, you know, higher layer so that you can drop down onto the pad instead of being ground layer, which you have to build up, which is scary. Because every time a pad shows up, everyone's like jumping on it, right? And that's a very common way that most people die in solo. So being elevated is really good if you want to steal a pad. I mean, that's a whole different topic. We can talk about that in another video. But like having your own mobility is like one guaranteed way to just win the game from third zone. Like it's really simple. So it all starts from the beginning. So anyways, I don't pull half. So we're just gonna go along with my plan here. I'm gonna pad into half. I was thinking about low padding, but I like pay attention. I'm like, okay, who's gonna actually shoot me? I look around and I don't see many people. Like this brick guy can maybe shoot me, but like other than that, it's not that crazy. So I decide not to low pad, because if I low pad, I don't actually make it into zone. Instead, I high pad but dive really early. So it's like just above a low pad, right? And then I build into zone, build metal. The biggest thing I wanted to do in this zone is to not pad right now, because if I pad right now, right, the only problem is zone's not moving, right? So what does that mean? Number one, everyone's in a box. No one's moving yet, right? No one's like rotating, which means everyone's looking out for people to shoot. So if there's 44 people in this game looking out to shoot and I pad right now, I'm dead. The second reason is because if I pad right now, the only thing that I'll be able to do is start here and then literally just land here, because zone hasn't moved. So like this is the distance that I traveled. That's not that good. That's really not that good. But if I pad when zone's moving, the thing that I can do then is I can do something like this, right? And that's a big distance. I save more mats as a result. And obviously, the later you pad, the more you can go into deeper into storm, because zone will be moving as you're midair, right? And something that people, you know, sometimes people do is they pad from here, right? And if they have a chug cannon or floppers, they'll like fly around, and then they'll come back and hit the pad and storm again. They'll tank storm, but they'll be able to fly all the way back and land in zone, right? And this is a good strategy that you can do if you have a lot of white heals or maybe a chug cannon. You can reuse your own pad in storm and sacrifice some white HP in order to save some mats. Yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for this timer to tick down, because if this timer ticks down, then I can do the plan that I was telling you guys about. I want to land deeper in zone. I make a little bit mistake here. I lose my glide because I hover too far above that. I go around this tower to cut LOS, and I pick a high layer, because number one thing about the static zone that I didn't realize in the moment, but you know, in general, you just want to stay away from the bottom layers if you're healthy on mats, because higher layers are much easier to control, as long as you're not second height. The biggest thing about white circle here, you know, where zone ends up, is that it goes up in elevation, and that's not something I realized right away. But if I noticed that, and I spent time looking at this, you know, while I was in my box all the way back here, I would have noticed it, and I kept it in mind. Because the problem here is I spend a lot more mats than I should have, because I start dropping mats to change layers. Because I see there's people on my layer in front of me, and I drop way too many layers, and I don't like the spot that I'm in right now. Because this spot that I'm in, like, it's not good, because now I have to go uphill, because I didn't realize the elevation change ahead of time. But this elevation change is something that I could have noticed well ahead of time, you know, while I was waiting in that box. Luckily, I get up, but it was a little bit sketch, so that's something I could have avoided. I stay to the left, right? Because staying on the edges, staying on the left or right is really good, because then you're not getting pinched. You're not getting shot from the left if you're on the left. You're not getting shot from the right if you're all the way on the right. So staying on the edges is really strong. So I just get in. Build hard map box, use wood for the transition. Every fast start that I do, I try to use wood. That's really good. Something that I should be careful about is the backwards ramp that I made can be used as a way to like exploit into my box. So just got to keep aware of that. So let's talk about dead side here. right? Zone pulls, we came from here. You see my ping? We came from here, right? So where's dead side? Dead side's going to be this way. So that's exactly the sort of rotate that I do. And because of all this planning that I did, right? Because of all these, like, you know, mobility, like all the planning I did from the beginning, I used 2 launch pads that saved me mats. I used the 3rd zone, guaranteed 4th zone technique that saved me mats, right? I have way more mats than the average person that hasn't got an impact in this game. So I would argue that I'm ahead. I have 600 mats right now. That's really good relative to everyone else. So what that means is I can burn a little bit more mats and get access to dead side to get a safer rotate. So that's exactly what I do, right? Block my back off, get up to dead side, just like I illustrated on the minimap. And I do this little efficient 2-mat tarp, right? That's hovering, but like it's really good because I have a higher layer. And height's not looking at me, so I'm not getting sprayed. Me realizing that I'm pretty low on mats, I use floppers as a way to get behind everyone. Because the biggest thing about solos is that, let's try to draw this. So let's say this is the zone and everyone's coming in like this. Let's draw everyone's the way that they're looking, right? Most people, when they're rotating, right, the way that they're looking is forward. They're all looking forward, right? Everyone's looking forward. So that's why floppers are really good. This might be like a well-known fact for most people, but floppers are really good because you can shoot people in the back, right? You get first shot on them because they're rotating and their back is to you. So the advantage of being all the way back in storm is, you know, you get the shot first and you get to shoot people in the back when they're not looking at you. So it's not really like a proper 1v1. You have the advantage. The bad thing about being back of zone is that you're back of zone. You're going to be held. So the good time to do flopper plays is like when not everyone is in static. If everyone's in static and then you try to come in, it's going to be very difficult for you to do that if you're the last one coming in. But like everyone's rotating right now, right? Because static is not open. It's not available. So everyone's going to be looking forward. No one's like really, not many people are in their box. Everyone's moving. So it's a good time to start floppering and look for kills from, you know, from shooting people in the back. Let me know if that makes sense. You guys can type in the comments if it doesn't make sense, but it's pretty simple in my opinion. So I'm looking for kills because I'm in a hard mat, you know, 2 box. My plan is like, if I don't find a kill, I'll look for, you know, I'll look to flopper because then I can guarantee that I can shoot people in the back. And while I'm floppering, I'm looking out to the side. Maybe look for a scuffed height player that doesn't have a lot of mats. I see this guy and definitely would have killed him otherwise, but I pick up his mats because someone else killed him. And I pick up his mats. And I look for height, but someone else takes height. So try not to go for it. There is an opportunity that I feel like I could have went for. Because if you pay attention, it's not something I did in game. I didn't pay attention. But if you pay attention now in the VOD review, you'll notice that this guy looked pretty scuffed. He was single mat tarping. Not this guy here, but the guy that came up to height behind me. He was single mat tarping and he looked pretty scuffed. Right? Wood. This looks like a something that I can take height from, right? And if I can get height this game, it looks like a free win. So this is a missed opportunity in my opinion. Something I could like open this cone and start spraying him out and see how he reacts would give me a lot of information in terms of like how many mats he has. So this is a missed opportunity in my opinion. I played too passively because, you know, in the moment you're a little bit scared and a little bit, you know, play safer. And some people are the opposite. They play a little bit psycho when they're in a tournament. I'm just looking to play safe here, but I do think there's an opportunity there. Right here, I'm pretty low mats. Get shot from behind. I noticed that, but it's too late. I get shot, so I get cracked. Biggest thing here, right? What do you guys notice right away? Obviously, I'm in wood, right? So my awareness needs to be really, really good because at any point, someone can double pick out, get in, or just spray a really weak wall and just get in because it's wood. The first thing that I notice as I'm popping minis, because I'm trying to be aware, right? Because as I'm popping minis, I'm not doing anything else. I can just like look around and be aware. Is that my floor is getting sprayed out right now. It's red. It's getting sprayed out. So thankfully I react in time because if I don't, I'm dead. I'm gonna be screwed. Someone jumps in my box, just like I said, right? Like he's in my box right now. It's kind of hard to be noticing this, but he phases into my box. He's on the other side of this ramp right now. And because I'm trying to be aware, I cancel the mini and look to make an edit play because if he sprays through this while I'm doing my mini and I don't have my crosshair up, I'm probably dead. So I have to fight this guy. And I don't have enough mats to justify running away and disengaging, right? I don't have mats to make a full box. So I can't edit out. I need to kill this guy. Now it's just like, okay, if I win this 1v1, I continue in this game. If I don't, I lose. Here we go. I make a right hand peek, kill him. I'm happy to commit. I'm happy to make that sort of edit and just engage in a name duel because I have attack, right? Because if I miss or like he pumps me for a certain amount and I don't die, like attack is really good to DPS him. So I get his siphon match, drop down. I didn't necessarily need to go this far, but I was really scared of getting shot. Since I noticed it went downhill, something about any zone that goes downhill. Let's say like this is the side view, okay? This is the side view. And the zone goes like this, and then these are like the tarps that people make. These are free layers because this area right here is an area of the map that wasn't previously available. It was a layer that was not previously available. So since it went downhill, I immediately dropped to low ground. And if you notice in the background, if we erase all of this, no one's on this layer because before it was not available, right? And I noticed this and I just dropped down. So this is a really safe layer to be. The only problem is if zone pulls back, I'm gonna be screwed. But if zone pulls forward, if zone pulls, you know, anywhere out this way, if it pulls anywhere out this way, I'm gonna be happy. But if it pulled back, I'm not gonna be happy because then I have to work back uphill. So I thought about dropping a big. I'll pop a mini instead because zone pulls far. I need to start going. Break here. Someone shoots me in the back. I just engage in an attack duel here and jump over his head. So he found it really hard to shoot me. So I get siphon match from that. Small little thing. It's not even that big of a deal. But if I have 2 tacks here, I noticed that this one has more ammo. It's already reloaded. 158, right? It's already reloaded. So I just dropped the other one. I swapped them and dropped the other one. Just to make sure that I don't have to reload it down the road. Panicking here a little bit. But the biggest thing that I want to ensure in this sort of zone where people don't have mats is I want to be the guy that doesn't, you know, I want to be in the back because of that concept that I talked about where everyone's looking forward. I want to be in the back of zone, looking forward, like looking at people's backs. I don't want to be the guy that gets shots in the that gets shot in the back, but I want to be the guy that, you know, shoots people in the back. So I'm trying to stay in the back here. I'm just healing using the time that I have. I'm trying to stay behind. If I sit up here and I'm not looking back, then I'm gonna get shot in the back if I don't have mats, right? I try to stay in the back here. I do have to break up, but then I notice I hear this guy on the grass here. Edit, shoot, reset. Edit, shoot, reset. Nice. He's dead. Then this concept again, right? I want to work on the back of people. So I crouch walk to cut my, you know, footsteps. Ground the back. Shoot this guy in the back. If I decided to break this wall, the whole idea of going behind people is not going to work here. Because then I'm breaking this. Everyone who's on the other side of this wall knows I'm breaking it. So it's very obvious that I'm coming out there. And then I immediately become a target. But if I crouch walk around this side and come out behind them, tank storm because I'm 90 whites, I just got to kill. It's a lot better play. Unfortunately, this guy steals my kill. And then at this point, it's game over. It's just a 1v1. Whoever's on height just wins the game because we're getting buried. And fortunately for me, he has a right hand. And there's not much I can do at this point. He has a chuck cannon too to out heal. Like, it's just over at this point. So I'm pretty happy with my 3rd place. The only way, see, that's why I mentioned earlier about like how I thought I misplayed that height play is because the only way I think that I could really win this game, the biggest mistake is to not, like, I didn't look for that height. You know, that area where that guy looks scuffed, I should have shot him out. And that's the one way I win the game, right? I mean, that's it, guys. I mean, I hope this helps you. And I didn't really talk too much about endgame except like common fundamentals that most top tier players know. But the biggest thing that I want you guys to understand and emphasize in your solo games, especially this tournament that's coming up this weekend, is just make sure that you're planning everything from first zone, second zone, and you're looking for that key thing this meta, that mobility, right? It sounds obvious, but most people don't actively look for it, and they don't play safe when they do get it, right? Most Fortnite players do it opposite. They get 2 launch pads, they have an ego, so they key, and most people play safe when they don't have mobility. When in fact, when you don't have mobility or any, you know, sort of options available to you to free rotate, you should be looking for kills, and that's in that sort of scenario, right? And so that's the sort of thing that I want you guys to learn and take into your solo games. If you guys enjoyed or learned anything, please let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'll upload tomorrow. I'll catch you guys. Bye.